Welcome back to another episode of Meet the Creatives. Today I am joined by the one and only Rich 2. Rich, thanks for coming on today. I greatly appreciate you being here.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we had way too many mutual friends to not do a podcast together. So you are currently living in Portland, Oregon, working for Nike. Congratulations.
Yes,
that's kind of like, that's a big deal. That's like everybody wants to work with Nike. I want to work with Nike. If they need like a coffee guy, I'll do it.
Oh, believe me, they're always looking for warm bodies to deliver coffee.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
So before that, you grew up in New Jersey, in East Orange or West Orange?
South Orange.
South Orange.
Born and raised in South Orange, and quiet little town. And then a few years ago, moved to New York around grad school time when I went to SVA, and then kind of like. But I've been an East Coast guy my whole life, pretty much, until now.
Awesome. What were some of the places when you were working in New York City? I know that you kind of worked all over and worked for some of the biggest names that are out there. Who were some of your favorite clients that you worked with while in New York?
I'd say my favorite clients, for sure, New York Times. Love those guys. Would pretty much drop anything to do, work with the Times. New Yorker was always fun. Coca-Cola, I did a really cool project with them a couple years ago. And let's see, Double XL was like a dream to work for Double XL. I was a huge hip hop head growing up.
So let's talk about that project that you did with Coke.
Sure.
So it was Coke Red and Queen, and you were commissioned by Coke Red to create an animated video for Queen's track Hard Again. And it was for AIDS awareness. I absolutely am obsessed with this video. I didn't know it until I prepared for today's podcast because I kind of looked at your work more in depth. And I love it. And it looks like it was quite a feat to design that and put that all together. And I saw there was a couple real insanely talented designers got together. And for anyone who has not seen it and is looking to be inspired, start with that video. So tell me about that and what it was like to put that all together and how did it all kind of come together. And why did they not use it? What's up with that?
Well, the thing is that the video was insane. You're absolutely right. It was a crazy project to work on. It was about 2 weeks, not 3, 2.
And 2 weeks?
Yeah, it was 2 weeks, man. And
that's crazy.
The whole well, let me mute this guy. So it was 2 weeks, and it was a hot box of animators and a couple directors. It was myself and my homie Chris Merck, KRIS Merck. He was a co-director. And he worked, at the time, he was a creative director at Humble, and they had gotten this brief through an agency, another middleman between Coca-Cola and just, there's like a million agencies in between, between product, and between ship and brief. Right. So it was an artist-driven thing where it was Queen. Aloe Black was also in the mix. Let's see, One Direction was also in the mix, and I think Wyclef was also in the mix. Damn. So all those 4 artists were involved in the project for Coke Red for AIDS awareness, and then for Queen, we chose Queen because we wanted something super ambitious. Also, we were huge Freddie Mercury fans and of course Queen fans, and the idea of working on an unreleased track was like so baller. It was like, yo, dude, can you believe this? Like,
for
no one's heard the song before.
Are you kidding me? The red and white? Yeah, it's awesome.
Exactly. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
So I did style frames for it. I did style frames for 3 days straight, basically kind of creating like an aesthetic for it. I would just crank out like 20 frames a day, 20, 30 frames a day or something. I did that, and then me and Chris, we would just have conversations back and forth. I was working remotely at the time, and also, I was freelancing daytime at another agency doing this work at night. So like I do a full day's work on, I think actually Oakley. I think I was working on Oakley for MNC Saatchi, if I remember correctly. So I was doing that during the day, and at night I would just crank on this video, and I'd be like, by day 3 I was like, yo, I'm dead, bro. So Merck hits me up. He's like, hey, so we like it, they like it, come in and let's make this video. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, this is, I'm tired, so just get even more tired. And then for 2 weeks straight, it was about me, Mark, and like I think 7 animators that were doing frame animation, onion skin in Photoshop. And even I was getting down. Like I'm not really an animator, but I was even doing like little bleeps and bloops. Just like getting down. And then another animator would compile everything in After Effects. And it was just working on a million transitions, like revisiting the style the whole way through, and just kind of tweaking the hell out of it. Yeah. And then at the end of the day, I think it was Queen. I think Coca-Cola loved it, but I think that the politics of the Queen Mercury estate and those guys that what I'm saying. I think there was an artistic vision that wasn't being controlled by artists. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was a dope project to be on, and I've gotten a lot of love for it, and so has Merck and all the team. So it's like I don't care where the shit ends up. I'm just stoked to be on it. You know what I mean?
So on the website, and I was looking through your book, and I found your project that you did with Timothy Goodman for the Art Directors Club.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to everybody at the Art Directors Club. I love all those guys.
What's up, ADC? Rest in peace. The gallery though, they just closed up the gallery. They just combined shops with one shop. So
all right. Oh, so they're gonna go over there.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's like this Skynet of like create. How they all just like come together.
Exactly. We're coming ever closer to the singularity.
Come on, AIGA, hop on. Let's do it. So
I know. I get that blinking eyeball in my emails. Come on, let's go.
I know, for real. AIGA Ein Design. This is ridiculous. Okay, so you did this bathroom mural, and just in black and white. Yep. With Timothy Goodman, Mikey Burton, Chris Rubiano, and Nets Rubino, sorry.
Yes.
No. Yeah, I could edit that back in. So if my bathroom is very plain, if any of you guys want to come over and do that in my bathroom, that'd be totally cool. But tell me what that's like to work on like a project like that. That's kind of just fun and with people as talented as the names I just mentioned.
As those guys. Yeah. Oh man. Well, first of all, it's crazy working with those guys because they're all animals. Killers. And they're all super dedicated. Yeah, exactly. All killers, straight up, and they're all dedicated to their craft. And also for the women's room. Also, we worked on the women's room, and then the girls worked on the men's room. And the way the whole thing went down, it was like we just spent a Saturday afternoon just cranking on this thing. We were pitching ideas around as far as the aesthetics of this, like as a group, but like trying to get like all of us together to like mind meld on concepts. Like imagine that like we're all freaking busy, and then we all want to do this thing, and then we all try to agree on an idea. Holy shit! Yeah. So the ADC team was super gracious and like super flexible when it came to all that stuff. And we just went there on a Saturday, and a bunch of us, a few people came from out of town. I know Tim at the time was on the West Coast, so we came to the East Coast specifically for that, probably some other things. And Mikey was in Philly, and Chris was coming from another location working on some other amazing project. And but I was already in New York, so we were all just like, we just cranked on the sweaty bathroom for all day.
Was it like hot in there and like no air?
Oh, dude, the ventilation or lack thereof was fucked up. we were in there just like sweating, just like, just our art is so hard, so hard sometimes. Drawing these ridiculous drawings. Yeah. But it was a really fun project, and they kept it up for a while.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so let's talk about your podcast. You just came out with a podcast.
Oh yeah.
First Generation Burden.
Sure.
I listened to one today.
Which one?
The one with talking about names. Juan Carlos Pagan.
Oh, JC. Yeah. No, yeah.
Totally. So tell me about the podcast, and I know that it's super cool, and I'm loving it. So tell me about it, and where you got the idea to do it, and all that.
Well, first of all, I got to shout out my homegirl, Nastasia Chabinsky. We were having brunch one day with some other friends out here in Portland, and we were just talking about the idea of it was Aziz Ansari show on Netflix. That was like the kind of the thought starter for it, and the idea of the first generation kids, and kids of color, where it's hard, and it's kind of an understated I don't know, cultural hurdle that one has to overcome, especially when you have the burden of your parents and your ancestors really kind of like like my parents came from the Philippines in the 60s when they were 20 after both of their parents died. They had to send money back home to the Philippines. Yeah, I mean, like they've been American longer than they've been Filipino, know, and it's like not even necessarily by choice 100%. So, there's that kind of cultural burden as well.
Architects, and one was an architect, another one is a doctor, right?
Oh yeah, my mom was a doctor. My dad's an architect. They both retired. They're just enjoying being grandparents now. So
wow, that's awesome. That's crazy. Yeah, no. Talk about like a life, a meaningful, purposeful life. Like, damn.
Seriously,
your parents killed it. Step your game up, Rich.
They crushed it.
You work at Nike though, so you're doing it right. You're doing pretty well.
Exactly. They're like, wait, so you don't want to be a doctor? You sure you want to be an artist? I'm like,
yeah.
But anyway, going back to the podcast. So, I thought it was interesting, and this is months ago before even like any sort of election politics shit was really like weighing down on me. But the rhetoric at the time was like so very. It was anti-immigration, anti this, anti that. And it just felt like we were entering a war against inclusion. Yeah. And it's something that like, kind of weighs on me and weighs on people of color and even, people who are sympathetic to the cause. So I was like, it would be nice to have a podcast where you could have conversations with these first generation kids that have that cultural context. And but not use it necessarily as a platform for negativity and just like shouting,
right?
But like use it as a platform to say like, hey, there's some real positive shit coming out of this voice of the other,
right?
And let's take it there. So I interviewed Ahmed Klink first and JC first, Juan Carlos first. And then I kind of sat on it, didn't do anything with it because I was like, does it sound good? Do I like what's happening? And then the election happened, and I was like, man, like this is if there was ever a moment to have where you're a fire under your ass is lit, like that was really it. So just like Sunday, Monday, right after, it's like I just editing furiously, and just trying to like get as clean of a product as possible for Ahmed's. Especially him being like this amazing photographer, creative, businessman, and right. and coming from Lebanon and to France to the United States and crushing it. Right. It was really meaningful. So
yeah.
So now really it's the podcast is still kind of the original intent,
right?
But I think the nature of the political discussion now is kind of. It's made it a little more urgent for a few reasons.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I definitely want to make sure that I touch on this because I know that you and I spoke about it. But your work, it's predominantly illustration. You've done some murals, a little bit of animation, as you mentioned. Some branding work, pretty much a little bit of everything. But your aesthetic style, I know that you and I talked about this before. But I know that you were kind of influenced a little bit by like the pushpin style and Seymour Quast and
Quast, baby.
Oh yeah. And now I can't remember who you said. I think you said that you like Seymour Quast more than Milton Glaser. Is that right? Can we say that?
Can we
say that on the public record? I'll say it. I love them both. But I remember.
Yeah, I love them both.
Brian Collins turned me on to Seymour Quast and. My life was never the same.
But if I had to choose, I go Team Quast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Who have been some of the other people, or who are some of the people that have influenced you the most in terms of your illustration style? Because it's quite unique, but I also can see like the pushpin style, and there are definitely some other things that are kind of infused there. But who have been your biggest influences?
I'd say from my biggest influence from an illustration style actually was Stephen Heller.
Wow.
Because Stephen Heller, for all you design nerds out there who, if you're in the small percentage that doesn't know him,
Yeah.
he
I
you know
sat behind him
he's.
the other night. I was this close.
Oh, did you really? Wow,
Yeah.
that's
I sat
cool.
behind him and Debbie Millman. I felt really cool. I felt like I was like
Wow.
cool by association.
Wow, you should have like plucked a small hair from the back of his neck and just tried to like saved it so you could clone him later.
Yeah. I love him. I read all
Um,
his books and stuff. So yeah, go ahead.
yeah, totally. But he was the one who gave me my first job at as a professional illustrator for the New York Times. It was like 2006. It was like right before he quit doing the book review before Nicholas Bleckman stepped in, and yeah, I was able to squeeze into his tenure, which was kind of amazing.
That's so
And
cool.
because I always looked at his taste level is amazing and impeccable, you know.
Mhm.
So I always looked at it from a tastemaker's point of view, and just see and trying to execute work that I thought I wanted to see, and
Right.
work that I thought was cool. And then over time, you just kind of end up developing a style that you're A, comfortable in, B, seems to resonate with people and yourself primarily. Um, with that said, I mean, if you look at my Instagram feed, it's like I don't really stick to any particular style. I'm just kind of like, going to town on something I want to see. I'm really looking at it from a problem solving perspective. So that's another thing that I like to take from, someone like Stephen Heller. It's just
Right.
like, even putting intentional hurdles in front of myself when I'm trying to solve my own problem.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
Yeah. I recently started drawing myself and kind of
Nice.
trying to get more tactile with the projects that I do and have more of like a human touch. There's kind of like this. I'm a little bit worried about venturing out into this world because I'm kind of new to it. But I find sometimes it's great and then I can get right into it. And other times I just continuously like will draw a line and rip out a piece of paper
Yep.
and nothing comes of it. Now you're somebody who I think has that kind of like like steady hand and really knows what you're doing. What would your advice be to somebody who's looking to kind of get more tactile and do more illustration work and stuff like that, and use different mediums than say Illustrator or
Yeah.
Photoshop? What
Yeah.
what are some of the ways you can kind of get over those hurdles or fears of working in that kind of tactile space?
I think that is. I think it's a time thing. You just kind of got to put in the time, and it's personal comfort levels with your execution, your skill level, and knowing what you want to accomplish. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? For me, the best thing was always adding a level of urgency to my work, so that it made me give a shit, and it also made me want to just try different things, like based on necessity.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's really a time thing, time, effort, 10,000 hours,
Yeah.
all that jazz. But I will say that accountability. There's a lot to be said for giving yourself accountability and putting yourself in a position to get critiqued and moving past the critique, so that you the things that you worried so much about early on, you just don't are complete second thoughts.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I used to worry so much about like the brush has to be this type of brush, or the color has to be this specific palette,
Right.
or this mode of expression is this, but now I'm much more loose in my execution, where I feel comfortable in making an immediate choice in terms of what my tool is, what my overall general thought is, and I can just crank.
Is it
You know
more
what I
just
mean?
like yeah, for sure. Is it more just like the expression? Because I mean, like, I kind of just got a whole bunch of different supplies. I got like markers and I got Sharpies and well, I should say I saw a whole bunch of Timothy Goodman work and then I went out and bought like 100 Sharpies Just the Sharpies don't make it look. The tool does not make it look like the person. I was like, I'll just use Sharpies and I'll start drawing.
Have you told Tim that? Have you told Tim?
I have. I reached out to him to no avail. It's okay though.
That's so funny.
He's a busy dude. It's probably lost somewhere in an inbox, so I'm not taking it personally. Open invite though, Timothy Goodman. If you want to come on, I'm a big fan. But no, it was so funny to see though, because like I heard him on Debbie Millman talking about like using Sharpies and stuff like that.
Sure.
And it was kind of eye opening because it's like you can have. Because like normally it's like, well, I don't have that brush, or I don't have like crank markers, or I don't have that, so I can't do it. And it was kind of a neat thing because I remember getting the Sharpies and thinking like, I'm gonna do that Timothy Goodman-esque work, and then you realize it's not the tool, it's the person.
It's the individual.
It. Yeah. Like you could have the best pen in the world and be a terrible calligrapher.
Totally, dude. Yeah. I mean, have you seen when people draw in the snow, but then some like amazing like letterer will just like draw like a beautiful thing on like someone's window on like new fallen snow on a car. Yeah, do you know what I'm saying? You've seen shit like that?
Some It's a Living type character.
Exactly. Oh yeah,
Ricardo's is so good, man. I love.
Do you know Ricardo?
He was just on. He was a recent guest.
Oh no, I saw that on Facebook.
It's okay. It was recently.
I love Ricardo.
Yeah,
Ricardo.
Shout out to Ricardo.
Sure. Since we're shout out to Ricardo. Shout out to Sunday Afternoon Family. That's what's up. Mexico. So it's really the individual, and it's really the expression, because when it comes to like especially illustrative work and typographic like work, drama isn't inherent to the tool. You can create drama and you can create balance based on your execution in almost any tool that you use. So when you don't put the lack of skill on the tool.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I know. So you were freelancing in New York City, or you were?
I was freelancing.
And then working full time occasionally, right?
Yeah, I would kind of do a year on, year off, and I was right before Nike. I was freelancing for I think a year and a half.
Okay, so when you got the call from Nike, or however that worked out, did working in New York and the one and only New York, and there are some of the most influential people in the world work in New York City, and some of the there have been a lot of people who are kind of outspoken about, it's like New York or the highway kind of thing. So when you got the call from Nike, what was it about the Nike brand that made you want to come all the way, move across the country and work for them?
I'm the type of person that likes to say yes to the universe in general.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when opportunity comes, if it interests me, I'll more than likely pursue it, because it'll be like an earworm. It'll be like the song that you can't get out of your head. You'll be like, damn, I kind of want to do that thing or work on that thing. And I'm the type of person who also, I'm a finisher, so I don't like to start shit unless I'm going to finish it. And in the rare occasion that I have not finished things, it eats the hell out of me.
Right.
And also I was a sneakerhead growing up. And so, I mean, I remember my first pair of Nikes, like, man, I still got the box. I got it was a pair of Air Force One Lowe's canvas, black, white. I bought at Foot Action at Livingston Mall when I was in 7th grade. And and I got it because my friend Terrell had the red and white ones, and they called them bubblegums at the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to get the green and white ones because I wasn't a Celtics fan.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And in the early 2000s, when the SB craze was happening, like I was going through
all that. It was awesome.
But at my most, I probably had like 200 to 300 pairs.
Wow.
That, you know what I mean? And I was kind of scavenging too from like a lot of mom and pop shops in the early 2000s, especially around Central New Jersey. Before like all that stuff got ransacked by all like the Nike talk heads.
Yeah.
So it was just like stuff like that, my personal history, and also my desire to want to do work on like a level that I hadn't done. Do you know what I mean? And also to work on product, because I had been working so much on the brand side, and also just the flat dimensional side, working on footwear. So I got the call, and they were just like, "Hey, do you want to work on footwear?" I was like, "Holy shit!" Do you want to work at Nike? Holy shit! And do you want to do I can't say, but work on these specific projects? And I was like, "Oh, this is really interesting to me." So they kind of, it was kind of like the hook, line, and sinker. Yeah. And at the time I was freelancing, and I had just incorporated an LLC, and I was like really about to take that to the next level. And then, Nike was on the hunt. So I was fortunate to be, on a list, on someone's list.
Yeah. So there's a lot. I've kind of at the point now with my book, and I think a lot of young designers are kind of, and some people that are not even young designers feel this way, but trying to find direction and trying to find an area to invest in. But when you don't know exactly what that is, and you're kind of torn, which is very much so where I'm at now, what do you do with that? Like, if I kind of am interested in illustration, I kind of like branding and a little bit of everything. You're somebody who's pretty versatile, so I hear a lot to make a decision, but how do you go about that?
I would say, in my experience, I am also very indecisive when it comes to wanting to stick to something, and I'm a professional experimenter, so I like to chase my curiosity. Is probably the best thing best piece of advice, and I don't even really believe in advice, because everyone has their own path. But if you are interested in something, I think you should pursue it on some level, just so you know that you can be rested in your artistic heart that you even tried. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when I first wanted to pursue a professional creative life, I went to SVA for their continuing education classes, and I was working daytime at the mall, and then at night I would go to class 3 days a week. And this was right after I graduated undergrad, like 22. Wow. So it's like school never really stopped, And then the first classes I took were an illustration class. I took a design class, which is more traditional graphic design, and I took an advertising class, which is more like a thinking exercise class, but then you'd be pitching ideas within the classroom setting with a critique setting. Right. And I was like, I went there with the purpose of knowing what I wanted to do, or at least having a better decision of what I wanted to do, and then getting rid of stuff I didn't want to do. Right. But at the end of the day, I liked all of them, so I pursued them all in some aspect. Yeah. And I've done so much random shit where it's like I did UX design at NBC Universal 2 summers ago, and we helped relaunch BravoTV.com, which I've never publicly put out there. Yeah. And don't go to the site right now; it looks like complete shit. But at the time, when we were pitching stuff that looked fucking dope, the schedule page on Bravo TV looks cool. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Tell me how you really feel, Rich. Tell me how you really feel. I want to know.
But yeah, I just like to pursue stuff. Even with the whole Nike thing, I was like, I'd never done product before. It was been on the other end of the stream, the creative stream. So being at the ideation point at the very beginning of a concept that eventually is to get sold from a brand design perspective and advertising perspective, that was just fascinating to me. So I just wanted to pursue that, So I would just say, if you have a curiosity, pursue the curiosity, because a true creative wouldn't let that sit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think that leads to eventual dissatisfaction. Because at the end of the day, I can be a pretty what might seem like a huge variety and potentially spastic creativity, but there's way more stuff that I've done, and from a portfolio book perspective, so I can whittle it down. And if I want to pursue a particular project, I can give a slice of oh, here's stuff that I've done that looks and feels like this, so it can be presented in this way. Here's stuff that that feels more more illustrative, your stuff that feels more animation, your stuff that feels more web and digital, your stuff that feels more brand. And and then after this experience, I'll have like, here's stuff that feels like, Nike footwear.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, so you can kind of sell it yourself, and you're creating a toolkit. I think for when you're in the first few years of your creativity, professional creativity, you're going to be, I think you should do too much shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just do too much shit so that you can present yourself in the way that you want to by curating yourself over time.
Right. And then taking those projects and editing it down, because I spoke with with Justin Genak, and one of the things he said was there are a lot of talented people who kind of have this work, but they put up everything that they've done rather than kind of editing it and putting their best projects. So like have a diverse and wide skill set, but make sure that the work that you do, because you could have the best portfolio in the world, if there's something that's on there that looks subpar, it will almost negate the good work, because it's like they thought to put that on there, and they thought it was a good idea to leave it on their website. Yeah. But you're saying like this, like I think your portfolio should say, this is my best work. This is my this is my best face. And I think a lot of people are like, well, I could do this, but it looks like shit. So, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of people hit me up, they'll be interested to be like, oh, but can you? We like this, but can you also do this thing or incorporate it with this other thing?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have another body of work that isn't openly presented in my portfolio. I can say like, hey, look, there's a usage for this type of work, and we can go here. And sometimes I'm just like, when I was freelance, I just wake up and be like, man, I kind of want to try this other random thing I've never fucking tried before. Let's see if there's an opening there.
Yeah.
and then see if, I can just freelance there for a week or two, and then I can, mold my portfolio just to have that discussion. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's true. You've been more than gracious. I'm going to have to chop this up. This is so much fun.
Likewise.
When you're in New York, for real, let me know, and I will happily come in and party with you or whoever you're partying with. So I'll crash your party like a Luke Bryan song. I hate that song.
I come in on Thursday. I'm actually around Midtown. I'll be staying around Midtown, Times Square-ish. Not my choice. It wasn't my hotel choice, but
oh god.
Yeah, I know exactly. But I don't mind Times Square. I'm just kind of like looking forward to being around humans.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Oregon can be a little empty sometimes.
Yeah, a little lonely. Awesome.
Yeah, man.
We're gonna definitely try and meet up. Thank you so much for coming on. And,
Rob, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
And people can find you at rich2.com, correct? If you want to give out your social handles.
Yeah, rich2.com, one word. But for social handles, it's rich_tu on Instagram and Twitter, Snapchat, rich2. And, the podcast, First Generation Burden. We're going to try to do 12. So we're on iTunes, so you can find us there. We have 3 episodes up next week. I try to launch on Mondays. I'm going to try to do at least 12 and then just say I did it and call it a wrap. So
yeah. Rich, thanks so much for coming on today, buddy. This is so awesome.
Rob, thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. Peace.
Thank you.